Hello, shiny friends. How are you today? I am looking through a box of goods that I picked up from my aunt's house. She is moving and wanted me to have a few things that were my grandmother's. So I took a trip over there and picked up a few things. And this rooster here, I remember as a child being in my grandmother's kitchen. I don't remember this piece as much, but I thought it was really pretty. You can see my dog there sniffing into the camera, my phone. She's wondering what in the world is going on. That was a wash bowl stand that I was unloading. I actually already had a couple of wash bowls of my grandmother's, and so I wanted to be able to have that stand to go with it. So here you see me, I'm going to clean each piece up that I got from my aunt's house. My grandmother always did ceramics when I was growing up. She had a separate room in her house where she would, pour up the molds, and then she had on her porch, closed-in porch, she had, do you say it, kilts machine? Is that how you say it? I can't really remember. I just remember seeing it as a kid always, because she would be baking the pieces that she was going to paint. Looking back now, I wish I still had her machine so I could give it a shot myself. I remember all of those fine moments of her being in her room that she had designated to this in her home. It kind of reminds me of my time that I spend in my art studio. I have my own little room, and it's my studio here in my home, and it makes me think of my grandmother. But when we're kids, we just don't look at things like that until the loved ones are gone and we see the value, and we grow older and we experience things ourselves. And so I'm just honored to have these pieces, and I appreciate my aunt getting in touch with me to give these pieces to me, because my uncle is no longer living, which would have been my grandmother's son, which would have been my dad's brother. And since my dad is no longer living and my uncle is no longer living, I'm very appreciative of these pieces that my aunt called to give me. And, also just it's a point in time in my life that I'm just very appreciative of my childhood, and, who my family is and where they come from, and the things that my grandmother did with, her own hands, and the pieces that she created that I can enjoy now. And hopefully one day my children will as well enjoy them. And so it makes me think about the time that I do spend in my art studio and the pieces that I create, that one day people will carry them on in their home, whether it be my family, my kids, or my grandchildren, or, someone who has purchased a piece from me or what have you. It just puts a smile on my face to think that as time goes on, one day the pieces that I've created, the times that I've spent in my art studio, on all the days when everybody else is at school and work, I'm, in my studio alone with my coworker slash my dog, my elder dog, to create these pieces that will be lasting, memorable pieces for years to come. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me clean these pieces up and putting a little shine to them. And you'll see there me showing where she put her signature. Our family name, my maiden name is Summerlin, Summerlin. And so this piece actually, once it was washed and dried and put up, I put it in my kitchen, and it houses lemons now for my husband's drinking water. And these, the two urns, you can see her name there again. I can only imagine what she used to, pencil that in. Probably just like a little pencil of some sort once she had the potter poured up in the mold. So anyway, these are the pieces that when you saw me unloading in the back end of the car, And so I'm just simply using Dawn to get these pieces clean, just like I did the first piece. But once I had these cleaned, I put them in a bookcase in my living room. And at the same time that I was getting these cleaned up and I put them in my living room, it was brought to my attention the colors. The colors that are in these pieces and how they go so well together. And this many years later, you know, because I'm not even sure when she made these, probably in the 80s. Um, but my point about the colors is right before I brought these home, we purchased a new couch for our home. And you're not going to believe this, but the pillows that come on the couch, the print and the colors that are in them are those same exact colors. This many years later, people still put those same exact color together to create, you know, beautiful home decor. And so I just was completely in awe over it and just, you know, humbled at the fact that I was able to clean these up and put them in my bookcase and that they match so well. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up here cleaning them. And, you know, they cleaned up really, really well. Not much trouble at all to get them cleaned off. And the sponge that I'm using, as you've seen, is a little smiley face. It makes me think of, you know, shining. I'm shining these babies up. And so my mom gave me that sponge. Well, she's given me several of them. And, you know, it worked perfect for this little project here. But as I sat here and I cleaned these, I also thought back over. I remember the day that my uncle packaged those up in that same very box that you saw those in the back of my car. The day was the day that we had a family estate sale at my grandmother's house after she had passed. She passed the day after my father passed away, and this was 20 years ago. So after my father had passed and after my grandmother passed the next day, there we were left to find what in the world to do with everyone's stuff. My grandmother lived by herself and she had a house full of stuff, you know, you can only imagine. And a lot of it was her ceramics. And I remember my uncle taking those two urns that you're looking at here and wrapping them up in newspaper, and he took them home with him. Well, when I went to pick them up from my aunt's house, it appeared to me that they had been sitting these 20 years in that same box with that same newspaper. They probably never were set out. They just sat in her attic. But you know how it is. When time goes on and you've filled your home up with things and you've got so many other things displayed, you just can't possibly put out everything. But he knew he wanted to keep those pieces, and I'm so appreciative. He meant so much to me, and so just to have these in my home in honor of her and in honor of him, I just was thrilled to have these. So I would love to hear what items you have that, you know, were your grandmother's or grandfather's, and where do you display them in your home? Please tell me in the comments below. I really would love to hear. And you know what? Most of all, I just want you to remember to be you and to shine on. My prayer is you have a wonderful day. Take time to hit that subscribe button. It helps reach people to hear the message that the Lord has put on my heart.